Good morning, everyone. I'll bring the meeting to order. First order of business are our public speakers. Hillary?
Mr. Chairman, there are 17 public speakers this morning. To the public speakers, I will call the first person and then name the next person. The public speaking area is to the podium here. You have 2 minutes to make your remarks. Because of the length of the list, I would ask that you please sum up and finish your remarks quickly. The first speaker is Marty Goodman from TW Local 100, and he'll be followed by Murray Bowden.
Hello, my name is Marty Goodman, a former Local 100 officer and a mad as hell retiree. I'm also an activist in the Labor Outreach Committee of Occupy Wall Street, the movement that awakened the world to the corporate dictatorship of the 1%. We demand that the jobs of 120 station agents laid off since May 2010 be restored. It is a contract demand. These 120 workers are facing the cutoff of their unemployment benefits next week. They face an abyss. In 2010, over 950 workers were unjustly laid off, slashing service. Of those, 450 were station agents. Most came back, not the 120. These 120 and their families have had to cope with joblessness for 2 holiday seasons and have been stuck in unbearable limbo. One, Kurana Singh, was a strong union man with heart trouble. Singh recently died of a heart attack on a train without getting his job back. Transit workers know that this stress of being unemployed helped kill our friend Kurana. Restore our jobs now. Last year, the MTA paid over $2 billion to Wall Street banks and MTA bondholders, the 1%. According to a study, Money for Nothing, issued by United New York, the MTA threw away about $118 million in 2011 on unnecessary bond insurance called interest swaps. In 2010, the MTA layoff of 450 station agents, quote, saved $50 million per year. Using those figures, that means saving about $13 million this year to keep 120 workers jobless. That amounts to just 1/10 of 1% of the MTA's $12 billion budget. We say end the nightmare, rehire the 120, win right now.
Thank you very much for your
Hell no to layoffs, restore the jobs, no to zeros, no to all givebacks. Restore all service cuts. This is their crisis. Make the rich pay, not workers. Restore the 120 jobs.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Goodman.
you.
Next speaker is Murray Bowden, followed by John Menanka.
This is about change. I've asked that each of you at the board come in here with a... I didn't start yet. Give me a break. Come on, Hillary. You're up today, by the way. You're the one that's in the hot seat. And the rest of the board. If you don't lead by having a computer in front of you, you're defeating the purpose. I was at New Jersey Transit yesterday. No, excuse me, New Jersey Turnpike. And one of the board members after my presentation said, you know, we have to move the board materials electronically. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. You're creating unbelievable distribution. I emailed you and I said I wanted to have the minutes for this on and the rest of the things online. And you said, of course it's there. It's not there. This is the presentation for Bridges and Tunnels from Monday. It's not online. Had I had this, I would have said it's idiotic, and I would have had it in my presentation. So, Hillary, your format of presenting the information is not in a way that's usable. It has to be hyperlinked. When I click on page 7, I can't go through 375 pages to get to page 42 where I need to know. This is a transition, and it's your response, and it's the rest of you. Mitch, I had to stand behind you when this was done and read it off your computer or your paper that you had. I didn't have it. You described the New Hampshire toll booth in a way Bridges and Tunnels just doesn't get it. They're wasting hundreds of millions of dollars because they want to reinvent highway speed tolling. It's not high-speed tolling. It's whatever is safe at that time. That's highway speed tolling. And it's all over the place. So between Hillary updating the way you present information and Bridges and Tunnels at least using what's out in the public domain now, there's a lot of money out there that's being used incorrectly. I want to thank you for the opportunity of speaking this morning. I don't want to run over time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. The next speaker is John Mineka, followed by Linda Harrison.
My name is John Mineka. I'm with Occupy Wall Street Labor Outreach Committee. We're all familiar with the subprime mortgage scandal. We're less familiar to a more damaging to our economy and social institutions, the sales of banks, the bank sales of interest rate swaps to public agencies and governments. These swaps were touted by bankers to gullible public officials as insurance against interest rate increases in agency and government bonds. With the Federal Reserve engineering prime rates near zero, these swaps have become a huge liability on the balance sheets of public institutions. Some entities have been forced into bankruptcy. Many have had to make severe cuts to staff and services. Others have paid exorbitant penalties to shed these obligations. Since 2008, a total of $4 billion in penalties was paid out to banks to cancel their debts under interest rate swap agreements. Where now among these victims of the banks does the MTA stand? In 2011, the MTA made payments of $117 million for interest rate swaps. These payments are scheduled to continue this year and beyond. Many of the swaps do not expire until 2030. To terminate its swaps, the MTA would have to pay penalties totaling $714 million. Obviously, the MTA can't afford these penalties, nor can they take it out of their workers nor their riders. Cancel the interest rate swaps. This is the only sustainable way for the MTA to go forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Mineka. The next speaker is Linda Harrison, followed by Brenda Edwards.
Good morning. I'm a laid-off worker of 120 station agents who are being held hostage because of your decisions to continually deceive us about your lack of funds. We know that you have the funds, and we would like to be reinstated. We ask you to reinstate the remaining station agents and also restore the service cuts that you cut in our communities, and I implore you to finally do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Harrison. Brenda Edwards is next, followed by Tony Murphy.
Hi, my name is Brenda Edwards, and I'm a laid-off station agent. Our slogan today is MTA can pay. We need our jobs back. It's over 120 agents that's still laid off, and I am one of them, and I need my job back. The community needs the station agents in the booths, and we need our jobs back today. Thank you.
The next speaker is Tony Murphy, followed by Moises Del Rio.
Mic check. Mic check. The MTA can pay. The transit workers. Not Goldman Sachs. Not Chase Manhattan Bank. The MTA can rehire Linda Harrison, Brenda Edwards, and all the 120 station agents. The money is there. This board represents the 1%. But instead, the MTA is helping banks loot public transportation, destroy public transportation, dismantle token booths, lay off station agents, cut services to the disabled. That's because the MTA serves the 1%. The transit workers serve the 99%. The media often tries to demonize the transit workers for the MTA and the 1%. But the presence today of Occupy Wall Street shows what has always been true, that the transit workers serve the 99%. It is beyond ludicrous for the MTA to claim a retirees fund as an excuse to deny justice to the transit workers.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
In 2005, the MTA was caught looting the pensions of the transit workers. And so we know that the money is there, and the only solution, as the MTA has proven itself incapable of doing anything but serving the 1%, of funneling money to Chase Manhattan Bank and Wall Street, is to create a people's MTA.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
The people's
Please sum up
MTA
your
would
remarks.
include the people who use public transportation and operate public transportation, including the transit workers, disabled, students, the elderly, and the unemployed. It's time to occupy the MTA. TWU.
The next speaker is Moises Del Rio, followed by Lynette Silva.
How you doing? Good morning, everybody. I've been on the job since 2008, and it's going to be 4 years. Ever since I've been on this job, there's always been crying about MTA has no money, and always been, threatening my job. Since 2008, there's been a fund that you guys have been sitting in the bank, and you guys did all these budget cuts and laid off all these station agents. But you guys can pay, so you could take that money and help these laid-off station agents get their job back, and help us restore service to our customers, and give us our percent of wage of cost of living for our next contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Del Rio. Lynette Silva is next, followed by Michael Alden.
Hi, my name is Lynette Silva, but transit would know me as laid off station agent 156, pass number 823011. I'm a real person with responsibilities. I love to work, and I need my job back. My unemployment benefits will be ending next week. I've been searching to find more employment, and so far nothing. Please find it in your budgets to give us our jobs back. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Silva. Michael Alden, followed by Paul Piazza.
I'm here. I'm Michael Alden. Good morning. I'm a bus operator out of 126 Depot. I'm familiar with Fernando Ferrer. He was the Bronx borough president. I reside also in the Bronx. And Mr. Modler, I don't know if he's here too. So hello, special hello to people from the Bronx. I would like to quote the president yesterday at the meeting of the United Auto Workers. Probably you may be offended by his remarks, but however, these are the quotes from President Barack Hussein Obama. What he said, since when are the hardworking men and women who are putting in a hard day's work every day, since when are their special interests? Since when is the idea that we look out for each other a bad thing? He said, I remember my old friend Ted Kennedy. What is it about working men and women that they find offensive? That was President Barack Hussein Obama said. I think you don't like those words, and you don't like us, the members of Local 100. We are hardworking men and women. We deserve our raise. We're entitled to our raise. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Paul Piazza, followed by Maurice Jenkins.
Mr. Loda, MTA Board, hello again. My name is Paul Piazza. I'm a station agent. I'm here to talk about waste. We heard the last board meeting, if I remember correctly. I'm not that old. I have a good memory. You guys said you wanted to change managerial responsibilities and cut waste in management. So in stations, what you did, you hired managers in the month of January. You hired supervisors who make a lot more than station agents. So you hired 30 supervisors. You promoted 30 people. You didn't replace them. What you did was you hired more expensive people to take from your budget, while you have 120 people who would come back and work for less money. I'm not an economics major. My wife does the checkbook. And if I did that, she totally could take the bank account herself, because that's just bad business. You guys time and time again are wasting money, and you're saying that you're trying to save money. We had contract negotiations in stations where we brought stations to the station's management ideas that could save them a ton of money, where they could replace supervisors making $70,000, $80,000 a year with station agents in jobs that they have done in the past. The station agents have done these jobs, but they said, they even told us, we showed them it saved them $1.5 million. And you know what they told us? We're not interested. Well, what the hell are you guys interested in? I want to know what you're interested in, because you sure ain't interested in saving the citizens of New York City money. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Piazza. Maurice Jenkins is next, followed by John Denny.
Good morning, everyone. Some of your faces are new, so for you new people, I'm Maurice Jenkins. I'm the Vice President of Station Division, TW Local 100. I have to say something, and it's very apropos. 2002, we had a contract, and you guys came up and said, we have no money. Then right after we signed the contract, we found $500 million. Then comes 2005, and you had so much money you couldn't even hide it. You had $1 billion, and the first thing you wanted to do is open up a clubhouse on the west side. There hasn't been frugal thinking amongst you for quite a while. Now we found over $480 million in a fund that was created by a contract negotiation and a benefit that you got in reference to retirees' health care premiums. 1.5% of our salaries go towards those health care premiums. Well, our retirees have a high mortality rate, so they don't really collect their pensions that often. So there wasn't a great need for health care with people who are not here. I.e., you got over $480 million of our money sitting in this fund. What we want is for you to restore service. Those service cuts have hurt this city for too long. The faces that you saw earlier are not the faces of TWU Local 100 workers. They're the faces of honest, working, hard-working New Yorkers. They're the faces of people who want to be a viable cog in this society. They're the faces of the people who you are endeared to represent. You're supposed to represent them. You're supposed to represent those who have disabilities. They have a law, ADA. And by you cutting bus service and making people shut-ins, you're actually breaking the law.
If you could sum up your remarks, Mr. Jenkins.
Enough is enough. Utilize the Gatsby funds. Stop breaking the law.
Thank you very much. John Denny is the next speaker, followed by Christine Williams.
Good morning. It's my understanding that in December of 2010, a few short months after the MTA laid off over 900 transit workers, you tripled your staff of Wall Street investment advisors, salesmen, and bond insurers. If you have room in your budget to fund the retention of these millions of Wall Street, can't you find it in your budget and in your hearts to bring back the remaining 120 or so laid-off workers? The riding public wants our station agents back. We don't feel safe when we descend into the underground and see empty booths. At your board meeting in December, I was in the audience and listened to a veteran station agent who had saved the life of a man on the tracks by cutting off the power. If the booth at that station was empty, would that man be alive? I witnessed as that brave transit worker attempted to hand back to you the award you have given him for his life-saving heroics because of your hypocrisy regarding safety. With all due respect, ladies and gentlemen, many of us who ride the system have the perception that your employees care more about safety than you do. Bring back our station agents. Bring back our guardians of the underground. Bring them back. Have a hard MTA. Bring them back. MTA can pay. MTA can pay.
Thank you, Mr. Denny. Christine Williams is next, followed by Jackie DeSalvo.
Hello, everybody. Christine Williams. I'm a station agent, and I also work the night shift, and I would like to tell you a personal story that happened about maybe like 2 weeks ago at President Street on the 2 line. About 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, you have a lot of elderly, single women going to work early in the morning, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and there was an elderly lady going to work, and she paid her fare, went into the turnstile, but the way President Street is set up, if you go downstairs, you're kind of like by yourself, so she decided to pay her fare and just stay by the turnstile. She smiled because I've seen her before. A man who was about to jump the turnstile, I knew what he wanted to do because he's checking to see if there's any cops there. So he asked the lady, I don't know how he did. He goes, "Is there any cops here?" And she just got petrified, and she just froze. She left her bag by the chair and just ran to the booth. And I made eye contact with her. I said, "Come to me, come to me." And I said, "What happened?" "Oh, he came to me and he asked me." While she was coming towards me, he jumped the turnstile, and she was so frightened. And I said to her, she said, "I think he was going to rob me." I said, "I think he just wanted to jump the turnstile, and he was just asking if there was a cop there." The look on her face, she was on the verge of tears. And she ran to the booth. What if that booth is not there? How many booths underground now that are not there, dismantled? As soon as you laid these people off, the same day, the same week you guys took these booths gone. They're gone. I go in these stations where there's no booths. You should see the chaos downtown with these tourists. They're like going in circles. And guess who's capitalizing on it? The swipers. They're making money. It's a full-time job to them. They've got knots of money like this. They're ripping off the people of New York. This has got to stop. I was at the last MTA board meeting. I would like to applaud the people on the board who admitted that you guys have the money to restore the service to the people.
If you could sum up, Ms. Williams.
Restore the service to the people. You guys have the money. I applaud the people on the board who had that vote, but I'm sorry it got shot down by mostly, but you guys have the money and you know you do. Put it to the people of New York and rehire the station agents now.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Jackie DeSalvo, followed by Bernard Silage.
Hi, I'm Jackie DeSalvo. I'm a member of the Labor Outreach Committee of Occupy Wall Street and a member of PSC CUNY, the Faculty and Staff Union at the City University. Occupy Wall Street arose on September 17th and spread over 1,000 communities in this country after years of greed by the 1%, while the rest of us have seen our standard of living eroded. One aspect of this attack on the 99% have been budget cuts by the state and the city, especially on the public sector services and workers, and the laying off of workers, and the undermining of the wages and benefits of workers. The MTA laid off many workers in the transit system, and many are still laid off. We stand with the laid off workers whose families have suffered for almost 2 years. We also stand with the Transit Workers Union, which is the key to maintaining a decent lifestyle for transit workers in New York. And we argue that the interests of the riders and the public transit workers are the same, and that you should not be doing a divide and conquer as the press does, constantly saying that the riders should be opposed to the transit workers. The MTA serves the 1%. We object to the lousy deals you made with the banks at the expense of New Yorkers, where hundreds of millions of dollars in excess interest payments. We believe the MTA can pay. We reject the phony budget shortfall, which is created as an excuse to not have money to meet service needs and sign a fair contract. You have money unnecessarily sacked away for retirement costs that aren't needed for many years. We demand that you use the $500 million you have in funds to restore services, rehire laid-off workers, and negotiate a fair contract with no zeros.
Thank you, Ms. DeSalvo.
A contract with no raises is a wage cut with inflation. The wages won by the TWU will affect all public sector workers and set the standard for all workers. The PSC, which I belong to, will take a wage cut if you don't sign a fair contract with the TWU.
Thank you.
You
Can
serve the
sum up your
1%.
remarks,
We
please?
serve the 99%.
The next speaker is Bernard Silage, followed by Walter Edwards.
Bernard Silage, Co-op City. I'm a board member of the River Corporation. I had come and testified this body in the last year, indicating to you that for no reason at all, bus 26 and 28 that serves the entire community was cut unreasonably, and instead you replaced them with 3 other bus lines. We can't find justification saying that you save money when you replace them with so many additional bus lines. We argue that you need to restore those bus 26 and 28 to serve the entire community, and evidently when you indicated that you were costing you more money by doing so, you did not back it up with any documentation. But clearly there is funds that has been discovered that you have, and if you need to restore it, and if it does cost additional funds, we need that service. It's essential for this community. And you also cut services for the disabled. How can we do that? We're the largest law community in the city, in fact, perhaps in the state, in the nation. And yet these lines, cutting the service is disservice to our community. There's no justification telling us that you're trying to save money when you do have that kind of funds. We we request that you reconsider and restore those two lines, 26 and 28, and restore the access rights for disabled. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Silage. Walter Edwards is next, followed by Jason Harris.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and the board. My name is Walter Edwards. I'm the chairman of the Harlem Business Alliance and member of the Minority Business Leadership Council of New York. We represent the small businesses throughout the city of New York, and our employees depend on your services to come to work and to earn a living. We are really here in support of the program that the governor and Michael Gardner has put into place here on diversity. We want that you continue to move with this being a level playing field for all, so that everyone will get their fair share of contracts within this authority. So we welcome you. We look forward to continue to work with you, and we pray that you continue to support us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Jason Harris is next, followed by Narinder Singh. Okay. Narinder Singh, and he'll be followed by Derek Achdevaria.
Good morning, everybody here, and good morning, my future boss. How you doing, sir? Because last time I was here, and Mr. Jay Walter sitting here in this chair, and if anybody remember here, I told him you will be no more very soon. They will lay off you, or you will go away from here. And thank God that's what happened. We don't see that face more. It is a very, very sad note that my friend, Mr. Khurana, who also was laid off with me, and he used to go everywhere with me. Today he's not here because he died 2 weeks back. And he was begging in a, if you remember, a lot of board members were there, in the Queens, in the Flushing, booth closing, the public hearing. So he told there that, please don't take my health card. I'm a heart patient. He was there. If somebody has that recording, you can see he was just like madly speaking there. Please, you don't know. You don't have heart disease, so you people don't know. That's what he said. But now it's very unfortunate. He just died. I'm also laid off, so I don't want to explain here who is 1%, who is 99%, but I know 1% what they want they can do. 1% they have power right now. That's it. You people laid off because you are 1%. I'm not going in that figure. So please, you can change right now because you 1%, you have power. Just change the whole rule and bring us back. That's what you can do. Please, I'm begging to you. I can explain you how what bad I'm going through right now. Please, just my request. Please call us back. We need job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. And our final speaker today is Derek Achdevaria.
Derek Echevarria, chairman of stations representing the laid-off workers. Let me start off by, as in the negotiations or as in any meeting with the Transit Authority, the only way anything's going to get accomplished is if we work together. We don't proceed to tell you your job, and we are just like the buffer. By saying that, for example, in the negotiations, what is transpiring is we're doing your job. All of our offers, everything we offer in the negotiation saves you money. It benefits us, but those are the things you need to look for. Meanwhile, the Transit Authority's position is to take everything away from us with giving nothing back. And really, that's not going to work. The problems we have here is safety, the closing of booths, unmanned entrances, revenue loss, how do you know about fare evasion? Because we did the fare evasion. See something, say something. If we're not there seeing it, who's seeing it? But I urge you to work together, that we work together. And the only way that's going to be accomplished by is if you pay attention to us. Because we're out there. We know what's going on. We have board members here that don't even take the train. And I don't see them out there. We need, what we actually need, maybe we need a better reason, a better MTA. Maybe we need to have workers on the board. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Echeverria. That concludes the public speaking portion.
Thank you. I want to thank all the speakers this morning. Before we start, I'd like to acknowledge and take the opportunity to acknowledge the upcoming departure of Jeremy Soffin, who has been the MTA's Director of Media Relations. Jeremy has been with the MTA for the last 5 years, and he recently announced that he's leaving to return to the private sector. In the 3 months that I've been here, I have been impressed over and over again with Jeremy's intelligence, his poise, his ability to think strategically, and most importantly, his dedication not only to the mission, but to the riders and customers of the MTA. As you know, I believe I've been in the government service for in and out of my career for quite some time. Jeremy stands out as exceptional. I'd like to thank Jeremy for his many contributions to the MTA. I'd like to thank him for his friendship since I've been here. I wish him, his wife Lauren, his son, his actually brand new son Sebastian, the very best as Jeremy begins this exciting new period of his career and his life. Jeremy, wherever you are, thank you. I've also been asked by various different current board members to acknowledge the fact that we have 4 former board members who we will be honoring in the future at a future meeting. All right. On to the items of business. The minutes of last month's meeting have been distributed to all of the members. Are there any corrections, edits, or omissions? Second. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now I'm happy to turn the meeting over to MTA Vice Chairman Andrew Saul, who's also chair of the Finance Committee, for our Finance Committee report. Andrew?
Joe, there are 2 action items this month. The first action item is to approve resolutions which will certify and transfer $528,658,028 operating surplus to the MTA and MTA New York City Transit pursuant to the requirements of the Public Authorities Law. Number 2, transfer $85,100 to the MTA representing 2011 investment income to the MTA. Number 3, deduct $14,548,000 from the Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority operating revenues for fiscal year ending December 31st, 2012, and pay this sum into necessary reconstruction reserve established by resolution on March 29, 1968. 4, deduct additional money from the Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority operating revenues for fiscal year ending December 31st, 2012, in an amount to be determined from time to time by that authority, and deposit this sum into a special account to help fund post-retirement liabilities other than pension benefits of B&T employees, and number 5, advance the 2012 TBTA surplus. These resolutions are described on pages 23 to 32 in the materials distributed for this meeting. Number 2, the second action item is to authorize payments from the MTA Special Assistant Fund to Dutchess, Orange, and Rockland counties in accordance with the provisions of the public authority laws as described on pages 33-34 in the materials distributed for this meeting. The committee recommends these action items, and I move them.
This is the number is 527. Can you just...
What did I say? 528. Okay, I'm just just to be clear, the transfer from the surplus is $527,658,028 operating service surplus to the MTA.
In that case, I second the motion.
Are there any questions, comments? Only in that case. There being none, I move the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. There are two competitive procurements in the total amount of $3.6 million. The committee recommends these procurements, and I move them.
Are there any questions, comments?
I'm sorry.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. There are no non-competitive procurements or ratifications. There are two real estate action items which are described in the meeting materials. The committee recommends these real estate items, and I move them.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Joe, that concludes the finance report.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. And now the report from the Transit Committee by its chairman, Mark LeBeau.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. New York City Transit met on Monday. Thank you for attending our meeting. There are 9 procurement actions totaling at $10.6 million, and there is one MTA New York City Transit non-competitive procurement in the amount of $56,790. The committee recommends these, and I move it.
Second. Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
There are 3 competitive procurements, one for MTA New York City Transit and 2 for MTA Capital Construction in the total amount of $5.5 million. The committee recommends these, and I move them.
Second. Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And there are 5 ratifications, 4 for MTA New York City Transit and 1 for MTA Capital Construction in the total amount of $5 million. The committee recommends these ratifications, and I move them.
Second. Any questions or comments? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And that concludes the Transit Committee report.
Thank you, Mark. This month I chaired the monthly meeting of the Bus Operations Committee. There are 4 procurement actions in the total amount of $7.6 million. There is 1 non-competitive procurement in the amount of $2.1 million. The committee recommends this procurement, and I move it. Second. Any questions, comments? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. There is 1 competitive procurement in the amount of $5.4 million. The committee recommends the procurement, and I move it. Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. There are 2 ratifications in the total amount of $94,950. The committee recommends these ratifications, and I move them. Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. This concludes the Bus Operations Committee report. I now turn it over to Mitch Paley for the report from the Metro North Long Island Railroad Committee.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. The Metro North Long Island Railroad Committee met this month. We actually finished on time for the first time in a long time, for which we take great pride, and we report the following. There are 7 procurement actions totaling $5,894,701. There are no non-competitive procurements. There are 6 competitive procurements, 1 for Long Island Railroad, 2 for Metro North, and 3 for MTA Capital Construction. The total amount of $5,867,112. The committee recommends these procurements, and I move them.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
There is 1 ratification for Metro North in the amount of $27,589. The committee recommends this ratification, and I move it.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
And this concludes the report of the Metro North Long Island Committee.
Thank you, Mitch. The Bridge and Tunnel Committee report next is going to be given by its chairman, Alan Capelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bridges and Tunnels met this month. Reports the following. There are no non-competitive procurements. There are 4 competitive procurements in the total amount of $1.7 million. The committee recommends these procurements, and I move them.
All right. Any questions, any comments? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
There are no ratifications. This concludes the report. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes the business of our board meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you all. Good morning. It's Sadie Hawkins Day, so it's my turn to ask you questions. Is that okay? Only first. Who? Not going to. Any questions? Yes, Andrew.
You heard a number of the TWU members who said, you've got the money, dip into the fund and give us the raises. What is your response to that claim?
I respectfully disagree with them. We are doing everything we can to work with the fragile budget conditions that we have. Their reference to money that's squared away to pay for retiree health care, we have a $13.2 billion unfunded liability, of which we have put against it $470 million. It's nowhere near enough. It's a problem, and we need to continue to fund the funds so that we can make sure that the retiree benefits are there when the retirees of the MTA need it. Yes.
The union is saying that the city has their retiree health benefits fund and that it's a very similar fund and that they're actually spending down there, so why should the MTA be any different? What would your response be to that?
I'm not aware that the city's been doing that, so I'd have to look into that. Yes, Jen.
So how are the negotiations going? The last time you said you were talking to Samuelson every day. Is that still the case?
I actually talked to John this morning. I hadn't talked to him since last Friday. The negotiations are cordial and moving forward.
Was there a reason you hadn't talked to him since Friday, or was there like a falling out?
No, not at all. It was, as you may well know, John has been ill, and I was respecting the fact that he wasn't feeling well. Yes?
Can you explain why certain select buses in the Bronx and Manhattan have flashing blue lights typically reserved for first responders?
The flashing blue lights, I believe, and I might have to ask someone from Darrell Irick, who's president of MTA Bus, to understand that question. I understand that those flashing blue lights are there to tell all of our customers that they are the special buses that require to pay from the street. Permission was given to the MTA by the NYPD to actually have those flashing lights on there. And Darrell, do you want to?
As you know, SBS is our brand of BRT, and one of the salient attributes of a BRT system is branding and making sure that people can tell the difference between normal service and the select service. So that's why that's the logic behind it, and we did obtain an agreement with NYPD to use those lights.
You'd be surprised then, Darrell, if the DMV said to you that your use of flashing blue lights is actually illegal.
I'm sorry, the question? Okay.
It's not the purview of the DMV to make those kind of statements. It's the purview of the NYPD, which is why we got their permission.
When can we tell readers that there's going to be some end to all of the kind of work that's being done right now on the stations? We understand the benefits of fast track, but riding the subways on weekends right now it's kind of a journey. There's a lot of work being done. When can we give our readers a sense of when you feel like the stations will be in better shape and that things will be resuming some sense of normalcy on weekends?
Christine, the system is as old as 105 years old and as young as 70 years old. So when you look at how old the system is, I don't think I can tell you there's ever going to be a time we will not be in need of repair and renovation and rehabilitation of our systems. We will do everything we can to do it as efficiently and as effectively as possible. Unlike every other transit system in this country, though, we are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Other transit authorities throughout the country actually close down most nights or all nights, sometimes even on the weekends, which gives them ample opportunity to do the work necessary to keep their systems in a state of good repair. For us to do it, we will continue to post, make sure our customers are fully aware of all the alternatives, give enough advance notice so that people can be aware of it. But in the premise of your question, when will it be over? I'm sorry to say, I think it's something that we will continue to strive to keep the system in a state of good repair.
It's an ongoing maintenance issue, but the kind of extent of the work that's being done right now, I mean, clearly it needs to be done, but it's just like people can't get to work on weekends right now because it is so extensive. Is there any kind of break that's going to happen to that, or?
Absolutely, there will be a break. I mean, once the substantial work is done, I think mostly on the 7 line, which has been having outages on the weekends, once the new system is put in place, those weekend outages will not be there. And that will be coming up within the next 2 or 3 months, I believe. Yes. Yes, sir.
Bond sales coming up next month, and maybe you can dwell on why you feel this is a good time to be going to market.
No. Interest rate lows are at all-time interest rates, are at all-time lows, historic lows, and I can't think of a better time to go to market than when interest rates are at some of their lowest points in history. Thank you. Thanks very much.